Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I want to share with you the Bowgank Oaken edition. This is a 1-bar sniper and it is crazy good. It's got really high damage, insane movement speed, the sustain is phenomenal due to changes to skills, and it just does it all. Obviously with being an Oaken Soul build, you do need Oaken Soul, so you do need access to High Isle and Greymoor, and with some of the sets we use, you do obviously need some dungeons too. ESO Plus will have you covered if you have that. As with this one, I'm going to go through everything you need to know to make the build, and if you want to see gameplay, there will be videos coming to the channel, so do comment and do subscribe so you can stay up to date with that. And I will be streaming over on YouTube every weekend where you can see it live there as well. As always, if you like what I do here and you want to support and get access to videos early and so on, there is details down below of how you can do that. But with that out of the way, let's just get to it. So for the race, you need a damage race. You have two choices really, Khajiit or Dark Elf. Khajiit I normally use on live just because I have one Nightblade and I just switch between melee or ranged. Khajiit gives you more crit damage, which means you have higher burst peaks, which is great. The downside is though that if you don't crit, your damage is a lot lower. So that is obviously a factor. The other advantage is you get some max resource and you also get some recovery. That said, if you are a Dark Elf, you have more resource pools to work with, you're more defensive against fire, so that's a really good option. And if you don't crit, your damage is really high. So for me, Dark Elf, Khajiit, very similar. Honestly, you won't really notice the difference between the two. If you're not one of these races, I wouldn't panic, the build will still work, you'll just have slightly less damage, so just factor that in. As for my attributes, I have 32 in health and 32 in stamina. I could get more damage if I drop the health and go all into stamina, but if you do fail the gank or people are on you, you need that health to stay alive, so personally the health is really nice. And it gives you access to more siphoning strikes, which lets you turn that health into resources, so the bigger the health pool, the more you can do that. As with our stat page, it's kind of quite generic for an Oaken Soul build. We do have proc sets behind this, which gives us lots of damage, so don't panic looking at that page there. For the Munda stone, we are using the steed. I know it looks really counterintuitive because we're a vampire stage 3, but we want the movement speed. That 16% movement speed is really needed. With being an Oaken Soul build, we have 5 slots for skills. We cannot run something with Major Expedition, we just don't have the bar space. So personally, that is really needed. If you are more happy to play a little bit slower, then you could go with the Lover. The Lover will give you more damage because of the penetration. You will notice it, don't get me wrong. But for me personally, the speed difference, I prefer the steed. I'd rather hit less hard, but be able to keep up with the target of the movement and so on easier than having to spend so much time trying to sprint and use my resources that way and for the chance to maybe get a kill where I might not have. So that's my sort of personal recommendation. If you are in Battlegrounds, obviously the Lover is better because you don't have to move that much, so that is obviously there. I did mention we're a Vampire Stage 3. Vampire Stage 3 is really good for this build, and in all honesty it's a must. You get access to Dark Stalker, so you can get into Sneak instantly, pretty much. Ready? And we're in Sneak. So it's like 1.5 seconds, Sneak. Not only that, whilst we are in Sneak, we also get extra weapon and spell damage when we leave it, so we pop out and boom, more damage, so really nice. And with the Dark Stalker, we can also move around at full speed and Sneak. So this is really helpful. But the big advantage of Vampire is Undeath. Undeath gives you extra mitigation. It's a defensive set basically, probably 2 in all honesty, is that good. And this makes you tanky when you're low health. So even though we have quite low armour pools and armour stuff, bars so on, we can still get away with it because of Undeath. It is that strong. I'm going to go through the champion points and the consumables in a moment. For the consumables, we use max health and regen, so you can use something like Jaws of Misrule or Smoke Bear Haunch. You want the max health and magic and stamina recovery. So Jaws of Misrule is just the cheaper version and it's really good. If you want to run slightly more damage, you could use Bewitched Sugar Skulls, but it's not worth it in my opinion. And then try potions, health, magicka, stamina. They cover all bases if something goes wrong. I would also recommend using poisons for some situations, which I'll get to in a moment. As for the champion points, it's quite straightforward. Fighting finesse for just more crit damage, master at arms for more direct damage, deadly aim for more single target damage, and wrathful strikes for more damage. You could change this to backstabber if you're behind them, but I personally prefer this because it's more consistent. For the red ones, you have the following. You've got Sustained by Suffering, Pain's Refuge, Survival Instincts, and Bastion. If you don't want to use Bastion because you're attacking people without shields, then I would suggest going into Wind Chaser and unlocking Celerity, which is really, really good. This does work in combat, and swap this out for Bastion. It's an extra 10% movement speed at all times, which is phenomenal. And then for the green ones, you want Sustain in Shadows. It makes Sneak really cheap, and Steed's Blessing. That's 20% from Steed's Blessing, 10% from Celerity. That's 30% movement speed when we're not in combat, which is really, really good. We also then have access to 16% here, so that's now 46%. And we also have Minor Expedition if we want to slot a skill. We obviously don't do that, but having 46% movement speed means we can move pretty quick if we use the Steed Mundas. Without it, we are a bit slow. As for the skills, what are we doing? We use Lethal Arrow. We use this because it does poison damage and it applies a poison status, which is an execute when they're low health, so quite useful. It's got Minor Defile, so it reduces shields and heals, so that's really helpful. The dot also does some damage when it applies too, so it's just a useful thing. We use Silver Bolts, and I mentioned this in the 2-bar build video, but in Silver Bolts, we don't morph it. So if you go down to Fighter's Guild, it's 8,472. If we morph it to Silver Shards, it's 8,000. And that's because it doesn't get all the CP applied to it. So this is an AoE skill, this is a single target. Our CP buff single target, not AoEs, so stick with Silver Bolts. Silver Bolts is really nice because on the skilled tracker passive, if you attack a werewolf or a vampire, you do 20% bonus damage. Most people are vampires in PvP, so this has a 20% damage boost in most cases. It's really, really good. It also means we get extra weapon and spell damage, and we also get ult gen when we kill people. So really, really nice. If you need more penetration though, because we do lack some, Crushing Weapon is a great option. It's a little buggy in all honesty, I'm fully aware of that, but it's a really, really good alternative. You could, if you wanted to go and change your snipe, you could go and swap snipe out into focus aim, which gives you access to the minor breach, which is more penetration. I prefer lethal arrow. I think it's a better skill in all honesty because you're closer to the target, which makes it easier to then stay in range of silver bolts. But both work. You then need a heal of some kind. So Vigor gives you a heal over time. It also gives you your armor buff. If you are patient, so when you siphon strike like this to get your resources back, you can obviously use your siphoning strikes and let your Vigor reset. Or if you want, and you're in a more of a kind of, I need an oh no button, Healthy Offering is a really good option. So when you're really low health, do a Healthy Offering and you can get back quite quickly. It also gives you Minor Mending, which will help you get bigger heals on subsequent casts. We then have Shadowy Disguise. This is our invisibility. It makes us invisible. We get guaranteed crits, and we also get the major crit chance buff. So we have really good crit chance on this build. We've got 43%. It's really, really high. And then the last skill we have is Siphon Attacks. This lets us turn health into resources. Really good, and you offset this with just spamming heals when you need to. Try and kill somebody a few times. If you fail, go into stealth, cast this a few times, cast your heal. And then for the ultimate, we have Incap. Now, Incap seems really counterintuitive. Incap is here because the Hemorrhage passive can only proc if we have access to one of these skills on that bar, and it gives us minor crit chance. So when we attack people, our crit chance goes up to 43%. We'll do this now. There we go. I need to get behind them, sorry, to proc it. It's a bit awkward to proc. There you go. So when you're behind them, it will proc down here. It's not proccing on here for the moment. Let me find it. There it is, minor savagery. It doesn't always show on the stat page. There it's 49%. Yeah, so 49% is really, really good. We almost have like 50-50 crit chance. Really good with this setup. So we use it for that reason. It's just 10% crit damage, nice. And we also get more crit chance, which helps with full up damage. That said, if you want a more ranged ult, rapid fire, toxic barrage, just laser people to death and just go pew 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 like this. And you'll get a kill quite easily with this. It's really, really strong. Okay. That's the skills. There isn't many other alternatives in all honesty, and you can drop siphoning if you want and use something like Deep Thoughts from the Sigic Order. For me, I personally think siphoning is more useful. You can just spam cast it. It's really, really good. Now, with the sets, what are we doing with the sets? We are using Way of the Fire. It is a staple set. We want a sharpened on this because we need that penetration. And you have two choices. Option one is to use poisons, and poisons will give you more sustained damage. If you're in a tanky meta where people are really, really bulky, you want the poisons because it will help you keep them lower health to finish them off. If you are in a meta or you're picking people with 25,000 health-ish, give or take, then you can drop the poisons, get rid of those, and then use an Oblivion glyph, which will give you more net damage, or a shock glyph. That will give you more just burst. The poisons give you more sustained damage. That's the difference. For the monster set, we use Krog. We then have Curious of the Fire, and we use Tarnished Nightmare for everything else. The Tarnished set is really good because when you do critical damage, you shoot the glass around you and the target itself. And you also apply Sauntered, which gives them the debuff of Pen. So when we hit them, there's that debuff. So that's an extra 3k penetration there. Really, really nice. Which means we don't have to run the focus aim skill. But, you know, some people like the range on it and so on. All of this is divines, as you can see. And we then go with fire on the necklace, fire on the ring, and then Oaken Soul. All damage on the jewellery. Whether it's magic or stamina is up to you. There's no real difference. And I've gone with 3 Swift. Now, I could get more damage if I go with Bloodthirsty or Infused. But in all honesty, the damage difference between the speed loss is not worth it. For how I like to play this build, I prefer to move faster, to get in and out. If things go wrong, I can just reset. If you're dead, you're dead. You can't do anything. You're useless at that point. So for me, the speed is more useful personally. That said, if you are in a group or you're happy to wait around for people, Infused is more damage, Bloodthirsty is more damage. That's kind of how you set it up. If you did want to change anything to just give you a bit more resources to work with, what you can do, and this is going to be a massive gold sink. You'll see I'm on the PTS server with like 1 billion gold or something stupid like that. It's insane. I don't have that money on the live server. I'm on PCEU, and obviously if you want to support gold and stuff on PCEU, really helps. It's at Unified-Gaming. But on here you get access to all the items, and you could go and change your glyphs to prismatic glyphs. Now, you're probably thinking, why would you do that? Our stat page is 15,000 magicka, 29k health, and 22k stamina. If we go with all prismatic, you'll see our stat page will change, and it'll be really, really tasty. The problem is, it's very, very expensive. So if you went with all prismatic, our stat page now is 30,000 health, so that's higher, 20,000 stamina, so similar, and much more magicka. So prismatic on all of it is really good. It's just very, very expensive. So do factor that in, okay? But that is it, guys. That is the build. If you want to obviously make a no CP version of this, where you can use this in CP Cyrodiil, the sets you would change is you'll change Fire to Shattered Fate. It is much more proc burst, and you'll then change the Tarnished set to a set of choice. Something like Heartland Conqueror is quite good. Spinners, Order's Wrath is also very, very good. So me personally, I'd probably use something like Shattered Fate and Order's Wrath in no CP Cyrodiil, or no CP IC. And I'll keep the Krog, and the build will work as best as it could. As always with these things, if you like what I do here, then obviously like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really, really helps out. And If you want any further tips and stuff, there is gameplay on the way, and there'll be live streams and so on, so do subscribe for all of that good stuff. As always, though, I want to say a massive thanks to all the people on Patreon who help support. If you want to support myself there, get access to videos early and stuff, the details down below. But as always, I'll catch you in the next video or in the next stream. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and bye!